Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and I'm so excited for our monthly gathering. We are going to cover the Taurus, Scorpio nodes and eclipses. But first, let's relax into our space and open to receive and invite our ancestors and angels and animal spirit guides to be with us tonight. We have these helping spirits. Each of us have our own invisible team of support, which is really powerful when we bring them together like this. So I want you to take a deep cleansing breath in initially, open to receive, make that connection above and below and at the heart. Deep breath in. And hold and release. And make that connection at your heart, feeling an expansion, breathing as if you're breathing through and from your heart, picturing a beautiful emerald green crystal infused with light from within and spinning brightly. We honor the direction of the east, which is an initiation point where we access the inner wisdom of the mind and the element of air. So take a deep breath in at the heart chakra. And hold and release. Come on down to your solar plexus, your power center, as we honor the direction of the south, which is often a culmination point where we access the inner wisdom of the spirit and the element of fire. And here I want you to picture a beautiful golden crystal infused with light from within and spinning brightly. And take a deep breath in right there at your power center. Deep breath. And hold and release. Come on down to your creative center, right around the belly button. This is where we honor the direction of the west, which is a completion point, and where we access the inner wisdom of the soul and the element of water. So here I want you to picture a beautiful orange crystal, your favorite shade of orange, infused with light from within and spinning brightly. Deep breath in at that creative center. Deep breath. And hold and release. And come on down to the root chakra, the be here now. We honor the direction of the north, which is a conception point, and where we access the inner wisdom of the body and the element of earth. Deep breath in, picturing a ruby red crystal, or garnet, if you're a January baby. Some kind of beautiful deep red crystal infused with light from within and spinning brightly. And let's be here now. Deep breath in. And hold and release. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to gather. There's been a lot of other things going on. I'm knee-deep in ancestor work. There's no doubt about it. And that is the perfect time. Scorpio time every year is ancestor time. Now we add these eclipses, and we've got 10 and 20-year cycles popping up. So we've got to pay attention to some bigger things going on. Now, I want to start by saying in the access note that I sent out, there was a 47-minute link that is up on my podcast station and on my YouTube channel. It'll say Taurus, Scorpio, nodes, and eclipses. And it's where I covered a lot of the cycle and the energies and the activation, so it's totally worth listening to. But because I've already kind of recorded that, I asked Spirit, what we could do differently. And there's still some activations and some things about the cycle I'm going to go into first. But tonight is going to be a little bit more about divinations and the guidance that I got, which was pretty powerful. I'm using one new deck and one not so new deck, but not really old either. And the I Ching, which is our conduct oracle that tells us kind of how to proceed, which was really super rich and powerful. So we're going to do that last. Normally I would do that first, but we're going to do that last because I want to use those keywords to take us into our drum journey. So that's kind of my vision for tonight. We'll see what Spirit has in hand. But I will say, to review, a little quick review, Taurus, Scorpio eclipses are very important to co-create with because I think they bring out the body-soul connection. They have to do with some really deep Scorpio soul stuff, power, sex, death, money, taxes, resources, sharing resources in particular, right? Taurus is how we acquire our own resources, but Scorpio is what happens when we have to share them with others on an intimate level. Like if you're sharing money or sex or housing, that's an intimate connection that is important for us to be aware of. Like one of the ways that I kind of trained my teenage son when he was starting to, want to have sex and all that, I just warned him. I just wishing somebody had warned me. I'm like, you grew up in a house of energy, and Scorpio is our most potent energy in the whole part of our charts. Like all 12 signs, Scorpio is the most powerful and the deepest and the most connected to our soul. And part of the way that we define that is by our strongest power, like our superpower, is to create life. So there's this creative aspect to Scorpio, but it's also this conception point where we conceive what we're going to do and we nurture the invisible until it becomes Taurus visible, right? So I told him, I said, when you open that energy field up to have sex with someone, both of you are opening up your deepest parts of yourself, whether it's casual or not, right? Whether you think it's casual or not, it's still, you're accessing our most potent power that we have. So we don't want to take that lightly. And I was like, and most of the time, anyone that we do get that far with, you have known in a past life, and so there probably is some karma that we have to remedy or rectify or deal with, clean up or balance out in some way. And so then we go into these deep relationship patterns, right? So we can talk about that in terms of the eclipses and the patterns that we're getting to break right now. We'd like to break those patterns around what came up for our guidance. This was really powerful, and this is just a total theme for Taurus Scorpio, was giving up survival mode for stepping into our power and opening up more choices for ourselves, right? So this is going to be a theme that comes up over and over and over. So it's important for us to look at that, literal, physically, what we're manifesting part of this, and the soulful, subconscious, sometimes self-sabotaging part of ourselves that has these drives. Like Pluto and Mars drives are really tricky to work with because they can carry us away with a passion or a feeling that we need to, express or have this experience, because that's the other thing. Nothing shallow in this department. This is where we go super, super deep. And the shallow people don't like it. The people who are afraid of the invisible, are afraid of power or mystery or things that they don't understand or can't explain with the linear brain. Well, let me tell you, there's going to be less and less things we can explain no matter how you cut it. But definitely during Taurus Scorpio time, we're connecting to our own magic and power and connection to Source. So part of Source is our ancestors. Part of Source is our higher self. Part of Source is our soul self. So there's these deeper connections that are up for renewal, let's say, that are also really tied to our value system and to our belief systems, and a lot of like what we believe we're worth in terms of our value and the creature comforts that we afford ourselves, and where, that level of comfort that you believe you deserve is going to be where you live. So if you want to improve that, that's something else we can call in and raise up that vibration and bring in the beauty way. Like that's the wonderful thing about the Taurus side. It's all about Mother Earth and life and bounty and beauty and colors and sensuality and sexuality and fertility and bringing things to life, right? Scorpio's the other side of that, the infinite void, death and disintegration, where we let go and we allow that to be composted into something that will feed that Taurus garden again, right? So I do look at it like the garden. Taurus is our garden that we tend to, and yes, we have to till the soil and water it and pay attention and help it along, but Scorpio is the breath of God that breathes life into those seeds that we plant. And we plant seeds not knowing which ones are going to pop. So we have to be generous with that, and we have to be kind of broad and plant as many, many seeds as possible so that the ones that pop we can really nurture in the best way. So one of the things you want to think about also is the self-love, self-value, self-esteem things. That's all part of this whole dynamic. And so forecasts and in other calls, but it just bears repeating here as well. The self-love, self-worth things come in around Taurus Scorpio. Like I said, our creature comforts show up in Taurus, what we feel we're worth, and food, sex, and money, quality food, quality nutrient, quality sex and interaction or sensuality with another, or intimacy with another human. All that's really important for our existence. That's the big thing about being in a body. This is the whole point, is to have some pleasure with this body, because this planet is all about the life and the juiciness and all of it. And there's cycles and there's rhythms to it. So Taurus Scorpio also reminds us of that rhythm of acquiring and letting go, of birthing and dying off, of focusing on the life side of things and focusing on the closure side of things, the shadow side of things. Things that we neglect or put off or postpone, a lot of times they can start to pile up, and we really need to deal with them. So think about your self-love and self-worth and those issues around feeling like you have any kind of power at all. Maybe we need an upgrade there. And then it crosses with Leo Aquarius. So this is all part of the same family. And Leo is the self-love that believes in your authentic self and just knowing that you're enough as is and who you are. Aquarius is your unique contribution. And so a lot of people struggle with that. What is my unique contribution? What am I offering here? What do I bring to the table that's different and useful and relevant? And we want to nurture those little plants, too, to coming into life. So think about a couple of the things that have been laid on the table now and the years where it might have come up. So right now we've been experiencing Taurus Scorpio eclipses. The first one was late 21, like November, I believe, and it's going all the way into the spring of 23. So full-on whole year of 22 with Taurus Scorpio eclipses and, sort of back end on either side. Back end, front end. So think about how it's been going, what's been coming up around your personal security and personal power issues, what's been coming up around your creativity and ability to bring certain things into form, and then how was it going during 2012 to 2014? What was going on at that time? One of the ways that I get people to recognize the rhythm as well is that before we had Taurus Scorpio eclipses, we had Gemini Sag eclipses, which kind of awakened our consciousness to a lot of things and shifted our belief system, and that break the real line that eclipses bring, changed how we think in this world today. Now Taurus Scorpio comes along, and we need to deal with our value system and what we're going to actually choose and embody and work with, right, going forward. The next set of eclipses coming in 23, which is just next year, we're right there, it's knocking on the door, is Aries Libra. So then it really is going to become all about you in a certain way, and the partnerships and collaborations you're able to initiate and nurture, and basically nurture to full development so that they can be useful and relevant for everybody, right? So if we want to have new interactions with other people, which I think we all need, then we have to recalibrate internally and with our value systems privately and in our houses and, in our own space, reset things personally, and then going to mix it up with other people will be a lot easier come 23, 4, or 5, right? So there is a rhythm to this. So 2012 to 14 would have been the kind of post-choices we made after the 2012 awakening of consciousness that we went through then. Before that was 02 to 05. Well, late 2001 was September 11th, which in America facilitated a whole bunch of rebirth. Where were you at? Some of you are not going to be old enough to really think back that far, but some of you are. And so what was going on? That is, you can see the themes circling back. And if you want to go back one more, I'd like to go one more to 1993 to 95. So these were all years that we experienced Taurus Scorpio eclipse, which would have been bookended between the Gemini Sag and the Aries Libra. So you can start to feel into those years how things happened. What did you end up embodying? What changed about the values and what you actually had to deal with on the ground? So sometimes we have babies, we change jobs, we move, and the priorities shift, right? So we just want to look at that as a rhythm and see what was happening. Now, on that 47-minute audio, I go deep into all these activations, which was really powerful. But I'm going to do it a different way now. I'm going to do a little bit more of like an overview, because all these things are posted everywhere, and you can go back for details for those of you who do that kind of research. But what I want to just sort of put on your radar is how Saturn in Aquarius all this time basically is challenging to the North Node in Taurus or the Taurus Scorpio eclipses, right? So if we have Taurus Scorpio activated with that third leg of Saturn in Aquarius, which we do right now, this month specifically, that makes it what's called a T-square, and that's 3 out of the 4 legs are activated, means we got to bring in that 4th leg consciously, which is Leo. And so we're back to the self-love and being your authentic self and having your heart be in it. Like, if we don't care anymore, we cannot invest. This is the way it is. Your heart has to be in it or it's not going to work. So there's this dynamic going on pushing us to grow and change in these bigger ways socially, collectively, right? In 22 is very challenging 23, Saturn will move into Pisces while the North Node will still be in Taurus. So it's going to be way easier if we get through this growth moment and we make some choices and changes around our unique contribution is one piece of that, but also just our values and priorities and kind of dialing that in, simplifying our lives in a lot of ways and getting things in order to where you know you're really putting your energy and resources into the things that matter most, right, that are really, really matter. In that regard, Saturn's working us in this, whole body soul reset that we're getting from the eclipses and the nodes from being there, right? Now, also during 22, several planets connected, but mostly Venus had a lot of energy going on. So that tells me an interaction with them as well, initiating and integrating with Taurus and Taurus Scorpio, is that our values really did evolve this year in a big way, in a way that's going to probably be with us for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right? So we want to think about that. And the upgrade, we do want to get into some benefits and blessings and ways that we were able to improve our lives or beautify something, whether it was ourselves or our environment in some way. But you got to remember, Uranus is there, living in Taurus for 7 whole years. And it's only a little past halfway there, so we've got a couple of more years to go. But that also is rare. So Uranus is only in Taurus every 84 years. The North Nodes are only there every 20 years. So do the math to where they'll line up in the same year and be there. So this is also another reason we think there's such a big awakening and breakthrough or breakdowns that precede the breakthrough going on in 22 that are going to be a very different vibration in 23. So Venus dominated, but Mars got a little shot in there. And that was what was powerful, too. Venus and Mars got to line up with North Node. So our masculine and feminine got a reset as well that we can call in for the next 10 and 20 years. Then Venus got some extra juju to integrate a deeper level of our priorities. And now comes spring equinox of 2023, which is really going to be a potent time, I got to say. Venus is going to link up again. So Mars can only do that every 2 years, and by that time, everybody in Taurus will have moved on. So it was very special that Mars did it in 22, and Venus is going to do it in both years. So values and priorities are an underlying theme in both years as we reset these things around our body and our daily routines and how we work our food and, again, with our finances. This is part of it. The big one for 23 will happen June 1st when Jupiter is in Taurus and it links up with the North Node. Very powerful to do like a prayer day. Like when I give you these dates ahead of time, that's when you want to do an intention, even if you just light a candle, set a glass of water, and set your intention. On spring equinox, we'll be calling in basically the new relationships, partnerships, and collaborations we want, the new level of financial security and protection and material things that we are looking for in terms of that. All that is up for renewal. And then as we shift those values and priorities in the rhythm of our daily thing, Jupiter comes along by June 1st to really expand it and connect your story to the bigger story, which is what we always want to do as well, And that will be, again, with Jupiter's a benefactor. It'll bring blessings to your Taurus house. For me, that's the 6th house of daily rhythm, literally. So I know because I'm in a new state and a new house, I absolutely have a new rhythm and all kinds of things have changed. So for those activations, there's still, an underlying theme. But also happening in 2023 is that Jupiter in Taurus is going to engage a whole bunch of different things that, again, expand and change our world. So include in your prayer days this vision for a liberation and an awakening in your body where, again, you can feel more pleasure, less pain in your physical body, which is really important. We definitely want to call that in for one and all. We have an initiation of a whole new way of living based on a new belief system that is rooted in abundance and life, affirming, the beauty of Mother Earth when she is at her best and most balanced. We can really call in that vision. And the idea is that Jupiter is only in a sign for 1 year. So it's going to take us this 1 year to anchor this 12-year cycle. So we want to think about that and then think about how Jupiter moves in 3-year increments. So every 3 years it's going to hit a fixed sign and kind of trigger these things that we're awakening and initiating now in 23. So Jupiter in Taurus is going to be a very big deal. The challenge is that Pluto's moving from Capricorn into Aquarius. So if we think Saturn in Aquarius was a bitch, Pluto in Aquarius is a whole new dynamic we're going to have to deal with. And so I'm getting all the 23, 24 writing done as we speak. And they're going to give us a little back and forth. It's going to dip back into Capricorn, but essentially Jupiter ends up squaring Pluto. So if we don't, if we don't bend, we break. If we don't change, we're going to get hurt in this way. So we don't want to do it that way. We want to actually choose a new story, choose a new belief system, upgrade what you're really calling truth these days, and upgrade the story you're telling, transform and transcend it to something more life-affirming, like we said. Now, that's our conscious. That's all kind of ideas in different ways. Saturn's our physical reality, and it's moving into Pisces, which means it's going to link up with Neptune, that's been living in Pisces for 14 years. That's a big deal for manifesting the new vision, y'all. We can really bring it into being if we can balance out some of the crazy. The shadow side of Pisces is the insanity and the overwhelm and the illusions and delusions. So we have to be mindful of that. All I can also say is boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Be ready. 23, 4, 5, be on top of your boundaries. If you're doing spiritual work, you need good boundaries there. We've talked about working with the ancestors and how once you open up to them, they kind of never shut up because they don't have a body, but we need to lay down and go to sleep and have a meal and eat. Like sometimes I'm doing ancestor work and I feel a little hunger pain, but I'm so busy, I ignore it, and then it's 16 hours before I've had some food. You can only do that so many times before your body's like, hello, I need some attention. And so this Taurus-Scorpio dynamic is big on that. Get back in your body and figure out what that's doing. And think about those years. What was going on 2012 to 14, 02 to 05, 93 to 95 with your body. So I, for one, and it's back again, 93 to 95, I was really in some deep training for physical fitness and was amazing and in my best shape ever. But now, each one, I can see where my body work was coming up again and again and again to evolve to this new level. So whatever you can do there is going to be good for improvement. Also, I want to say about the eclipses themselves, we have 7 total of Taurus-Scorpio eclipses. Only one Taurus new moon solar eclipse and only one Scorpio new moon solar eclipse. Everything else is lunar eclipse full moon. So that's 5 to 2 of completion ending vibration to the 2 new beginnings. You feel me? So we get a new beginning in both departments. That's not the thing. But what we really want to look at is releasing survival mode, releasing feast or famine, releasing extremes, letting go of that which isn't really working. It's not practical. Knowing our worth and negotiating up front. That's really important with the Taurus dynamic because they want to feel, that part of ourselves wants to feel the balanced exchange. Like, I'm going to put in this energy, I'm going to invest this, and I know I'm going to get at least this much back. You usually don't like a lot of wiggle room with that. And resetting your beauty quotient, right, and your abundance, your connection to gratitude is what opens that up, right? We always want to be grateful for what we already have so we can unlock more. It doesn't work the other way. But just know that you're clearing, cleansing anything that's sticky, icky, and blocking your power, your creative flow, your energetic flow, and your cash flow. We are unlocking all that. Think 10 and 20 years, right? So think back. Basically, this Taurus energy that we're in now is most related. The full cycle is from 2002 to 05. The other years I mentioned, 2012 to 14 and 93 to 95, they were Scorpio directed. So there's this alternation that we go through with these things, and that's why the lunar rhythms matter. They affect our bodies, and the water is going on in our bodies, so we pay attention. And in this case, we got to know we're doing a lot of clearing. So with that in mind, I went into meditation, and immediately for the I Ching guidance, I asked about the release work and the reclamation work. And it was basically came up to release survival mode and reclaim our power and choice. Okay, because what happens is in Taurus Scorpio, remember this is our manifesting zone too. We conceive it in the Scorpio side, but we manifest it on the Taurus side. So anything that you can conceptualize right now, that you can kind of feel the juices in the cauldron bubbling, and you just need to add some spices and flavor and your unique essence and a little time, low and slow, always better. With food, sex, and money, because if you do it slow, it usually lasts longer, right? If we build it brick by brick. So let's think about that as we recognize where we're shifting. Now, I told you I got these new decks I want to play with. So the cards I've got, the first one that came was the Sacred Traveler Oracle cards. And I really like these by Denise Lynn. This is part of the Hay House crew. But what was so powerful is basically when I do a reading, I like to pull 3 cards and above and below, which makes that 5. And 5 is my number. This is what works for me. I always feel like that's good. So that's what I did. I pulled 3 cards and above and below with pretty specific guidance for Kelly. But I always ask, which piece of this is for everybody that I can share. So this was the piece that came up for sharing, and it's called Passion and Pleasure. And I'll make sure you see the pictures of cards with the post-call goodies. And at the bottom it says, savor your life. Now, what was so amazed by was because survivor or survival mode or the survivor archetype is what Scorpio Taurus ends up triggering for a lot of us. So I thought, let's not survive, let's savor. I love that. I couldn't believe this was the words on these cards. So, savor your life. The card meaning says, find joy in the moment. No matter what is occurring in your life, if you simply focus on what is splendid, wonderful, and pleasurable in the moment, everything begins to improve. Live deliciously, which is also kind of funny because if you've been around me long enough, I do use the word delicious a little more than others. Love often and live fully. I think that should be a bumper sticker. Love often and live fully. Cherish your friendships. Fill your life with the people, experiences, and places that give you delight and joy. Let go of those people and things that don't appreciate or empower you. Give yourself permission to be happy. This is huge, y'all, because I got to be honest. In the 80s, I was on the rise, and the whole world was crashing and burning around me. Now, here I am again, about to be on the rise again, and the whole world's crashing and burning around me. So, if I give myself permission to be happy, I got to give y'all permission to be happy. We have to be able to find those simple moments and joy with Earth and our basic necessities being provided and find some gratitude in that. The Sacred Traveler wants you to know, when the traveler meets a band of wanderers, the traveler stops to dance into the early morning hours. Sometimes we get so caught up with wondering what's around the next bend and worrying about our current challenges that we forget to focus on what's great in the moment. You're not meant to simply work hard and be diligent and practical all the time. Embrace pleasure wherever you can. Allow your senses to be satiated. Find and explore the beauty around you. You don't need to suffer to grow. You can grow spiritually by leaps and bounds through joy. Dance, eat well, and drink well. Share joy wherever you can. Deep breath. So this is what's powerful. Allow your senses to be satiated. At this moment, we all need to have our senses reactivated, okay? Because food and pharmaceuticals are trying to kill our 6 senses that we desperately need to function as creatures on this planet, okay? We may not need those 5 senses or 6 senses on any other planet but here we need them. So again, with simplifying your life or your diet or your patterns, right, we want to interrupt some patterns that have basically run their course. We're not going to call them good, bad, right, or wrong. We're just going to say they've run their course, and let's be done with them, right? So the other deck is kind of fun. It's White Eagle Medicine Wheel, Native American Wisdom as a Way of Life. So this is by Eliana Harvey with Wananichi. So this has got a bunch of native concepts, and when I shuffled and pulled cards, again, I did all that, and the one that was really universal and good for all of us was Grandmother Wisdom Keeper, who comes from the tribe of Blackfoot, brings the gift of the feather fan. So I'm going to make my own, and I suggest you all look into making a feather fan, something that brings all the feathers that you found. Like, I'm guessing that my crew all picks up feathers as they go. And I have small, medium, large. I have all different colors from all different kinds of birds. And I've been wanting to make a fan forever. So this was just a confirmation. It says, treasures found of ancient wisdom, perspective in the life-giving sun, wisdom still to be recovered, pure freedom is discovered. Deep breath. This is a blessing fan or a dance fan. A woman owner would carry it in her left hand, a long shawl swaying over her right arm in rhythm with her stately steps. Eagle fans may also be used as prayer fans to call great spirit or for smudging. The 5 feathers on this fan are from the golden eagle. The fur is rabbit, the prey of the eagle. Everything must be in balance. The fine beading is done in peyote stitch. Deep breath. This says, she is sitting by her teepee fire, wearing a beaded and richly embroidered elkskin dress. This is Grandmother Wisdom Keeper. So deep breath, y'all. Start opening up, because when we go into the I Ching, then we're going to go into the drum journey. I felt your calling even before you came. You seek wisdom, my child, for yourself or for others. I am grandmother, wisdom keeper of the Blackfoot people. The spirits of the beautiful Montana mountains speak to me, and the winds bring me messages from afar. Wisdom is like the wind. You have to feel it to understand it. My wisdom has been gained over many years, maybe many lifetimes of experiencing life, seeing, watching, listening, feeling, going to the heart of things, penetrating the vastness of the universe, and above all, the inner self that guides us from simple knowledge to deep truth. Deep breath. Knowledge of itself has no power. It can be cold and abstract. It needs to be used with understanding from the heart, with compassion. In these days, there has been a transformation in the storage of knowledge. It used to be kept by the elders. Now, much is kept on computers and is accessible even to young children. Some would say that psychotherapists are the ones who have knowledge of the self, but the greatest wisdom is one's own inner wisdom. Deep breath. Grandmother Wisdom Keeper's message. So this is an additional message. We native people keep the knowledge of the purpose of things, such as what certain kinds of rocks can be used for, or the significance of certain events. We can see beyond the environment and predict what is to come. You have called for my wisdom. My first teaching is trust your own inner knowing. Awaken your perceptions. You have far more awareness than you give yourself credit for. Don't you know that you are literally connected with all life? Rocks, trees, plants, clouds, creatures, all can speak to you and share their knowledge with you. You are connected with the Creator and with Mother Earth. Deep breath. Much knowledge and wisdom has remained hidden or ignored simply because people have become too fascinated with material existence and acquisition. The treasures of life are in the simple things, which are free, and in the ancient wisdom, which is still there to be discovered. If the fan appears reversed, so this would be the shadow side, it may be saying that you have lost the sense of wonder and inquisitiveness that you had as a child. We're here to discover and understand the sacred self, on a quest to learn the meaning of our existence. Have you become dull and lazy, shutting down in favor of a comfortable life? This eagle feather fan will bring you the ability to reawaken and see things others would overlook, and be alert to signs and signals. It will show you that prayer and connection with Great Spirit brings the greatest wisdom. And remember, I said 5 is my number. Why is this page 113, which is a 5? I love it. So that is our tarot support. Now we're going to get to the juicy stuff. I love my I Ching. This is the Total I Ching, Myths for Change by Stephen Karcher. Very powerful. And just remember, all this guidance is tied to Taurus, Scorpio eclipses, tied to those years. You know, we want to reflect. If things were bubbling in those years but they didn't take off, they might be possible now in a way that just wasn't possible then. It wasn't the right time. And also, a lot of the negativity and things that have already happened to you, in my opinion, you've met your quota. You shouldn't have to go through that again. You know, let's look at it that way. So remember, I got 2 answers each for 2 questions. So we're going to read 4 little entries here. Both of them only had 1 changing line, but they both were really powerful guidance. Usually, when I do the I Ching, I will extract all the bullets, but these were so powerful that I thought Spirit just said it might be better for it to all go through your own filter, and you all grab the bullets that stand out for what's important to you. Because, the bullets that I was pulling out ended up like needing context and needing a little bit more. So I was like, okay, we just gonna do the damn thing. Let's go. So when I asked for the guidance around release work, part of the release work being to release survival mode or the survivor archetype, so that, we can stop having those kind of experiences. We got to survive. And the whole life and death thing, let's recalibrate that so that there's more focus on the life side. So when they talk about it, it's always the life, death, life cycle. It's not death, life, death. It's not 2 deaths to 1 life. It's 2 lives to 1 death. So we know that there's much more life going on. And even we can see it with our planet. You know, if we stop doing different things and think about what happened when COVID hit, this was on that recording, I think, is that we knew instantly within one day when they said no flying, no ships, no none of that. We stopped for a whole day. And it was just one day. You telling me these industries and these capitalists can't take one day per quarter, so 4 days a year, leaving you 361 days to make millions. Go for it, be my guest. But can't we give the planet a break every now and then? We got to see how regenerative she is and how amazing it is when it's unmolested, let's say. So we're trying to kind of strip things of ourselves that we've picked up in recent years that are pushing our survival mode buttons and get to that place where we can say what we have is enough and we are secure to the degree any earthling is supposed to be, because this is a planet of change and we have to be ready to migrate and move and adjust and adapt in certain ways, and certain security is an illusion, right? But I would be curious, and I would love you all, just let it sink in for tonight and circle back later and let me know, what came up for you or which part of this really hit, because this was pretty powerful. So I got number 19, and then those of you who are into numbers, for the release work, we have number 19 changing into number 24. Number 19 is called Nearing and Releasing the Spirit. So it says, when you serve the ancestors, you can become great. Accept this and use the energy of nearing. Release the spirit. This means becoming great again. This is so deep. So nearing describes your situation in terms of something approaching, particularly something great approaching something small. It is the first arrival, a point of new contact. The way to deal with it is to move toward what is approaching without expecting to get what you want immediately. Look at things with care and sympathy. Welcome the approach of others. Keep your expectations modest. This contact opens a whole new cycle of time, which an eclipse and nodes do. There's a new 20-year cycle we're initiating that will have its midpoint in 10 years, so we'll know kind of the fruits of this labor. It is particularly favorable for what is growing. So this is why we want to look at the life side. What's already growing sprouts? What's already alive? What do you need to nurture? What's actually working? So beware. Trying to rush to completion and or an early harvest will cut you off from the spirits and leave you open to danger. Now, that's the overview. One of the reasons I like this I Ching is because it has the scholar speaks and the shaman speaks. So the scholar says, this figure shows desire for contact expressed through a willingness to work and serve. This is the return of the great. Invite it to come nearer. The proper thing to do is to bring things together. When you teach, use your teaching to continually ponder the heart's concerns. So remember I said we got to bring that Leo in consciously. Activate the heart. What do you care about? What are you passionate about? What inspires you? Tolerate and protect things and people outside your normal set of values without setting limits on them. There is an undeveloped potential that you rely on without knowing it. What is strong and firm in this situation increases gradually. Work to express it. Keep yourself centered and connected to things. If you want something great to come of this, you must continually correct yourself. Stay on an even path. Rushing to finish things will leave you open to harm. The whole situation will dissolve. Deep breath, so no rushing. And here's the thing, Mars is retrograde, y'all. So this is why I said spring is when the movement comes back because of Mars being backwards. That does slow us down a bit. And if we don't listen, then we get in trouble. The shaman speaks and says that we should reflect this by meditating on the way, spreading the teachings to inspire the lives of all, work through joyous words to bring spirit to expression, gather the resources for a great project. Deep breath. And the changing line was number 2. It says, not yielding to fate, lamenting at the funeral. The spirit liberated now belongs with you like parts of a previously separated whole. This is a connection made in heaven, at the center of the inner world. It will stimulate and inspire you. There is nothing that will not benefit from this connection. The good consequences have hardly begun. I love this. Direction says this is the return of something important. Be open and provide what is needed. So deep breath. We had some advice from a Hawaiian priestess that also asked us to reflect on 2018 and how we shifted and moved in that year, and somehow some of that is coming back up now. And I have seen some correlations in my own life, so it's pretty interesting. Now, that approaching energy, things that we know we finally are going to sprout and break ground and whatnot, so important. And like I said, we're going to look at those keywords at the end instead of the beginning. It's changing to returning. This says, returning describes your situation in terms of re-emergence and rebirth. The way to deal with it is go back to meet the returning energy in order to begin anew. Retrace your path, return to the source, reestablish what is important, restore the way. Find the intensity of the earlier time and the purity of the original feeling. Intensity and purity is very Taurus Scorpio. This is pleasing to the spirits. Through it, they will give you success, effective power, and the capacity to bring the situation to maturity. Let things emerge and come back without pressure or upset. People will suggest mutually profitable projects. It is not a mistake to join them. Turning and moving in the opposite direction from your former path will return you to the way on the seventh day. Have a place to go. Impose a direction on things that brings profit and insight. Okay, deep breath. So 7 is a sacred number for learning. It's masculine and feminine, 3 and 4 coming together and creating some stability. It's Saturn's number, so we're making things real. And at the same time, we're tapping into that part of us that feels worthy of a greater existence, that we don't have to be on this planet just to survive, that we can thrive and prosper too. The scholar says that this figure shows inner energy returning to the field of activity. Be open to new ideas and provide what is needed. The old situation has been stripped away. Turn in your tracks and go back to meet what is re-emerging. This return to the way is the root of your power to realize the way in action. Be small, adaptable, and differentiate yourself from others. Use your own knowledge of the source of things. Remember our inner knowing. This is Scorpio's the psychic. You know, this is the part of us that just knows. We don't know why we know, we just know. To nurture this returning energy, early rulers would close the frontiers and the markets at the time of the solstice. So, you know that's around the corner. December 21st to January 7th is a very sacred time. It takes you all the way through to Epiphany, and all these different cultures and indigenous people have honored that time of year for a pause. We've got to prepare ourselves for that. Merchants and sojourners would not move. The prince would not go on tours of inspection. This kind of attention is pleasing to the spirits. Through it, they will give you success, effective power, and the capacity to bring the situation to maturity. What is strong and firm is reversing it. Stir things up and work with the movement. Let things emerge and come back without pressure or upset. So this is allowing. This is being open and receptive to the blessings and the beauty and the abundance that's possible for you. People will suggest mutually profitable projects. It is not a mistake to join them. We want to turn in a new direction. And the shaman speaks by saying, we will reflect this by emulating the early kings who closed the boundaries and the gates to nurture the returning spirit. Work through rousing and inspiring. A cycle is beginning. Prepare the joyous response. See, powerful. If we can let go of some of these burdens that we're carrying that are so heavy, it's so deep. So we can do that clearing, and then the reclamation work of our power and additional choices comes through number 37, changing to 42. So I did think it was interesting. I got 24 and 42. This one is called Dwelling People. This one says, Dwelling People describes your situation in terms of living and working with others, sharing work, spirit, and ancestors. The way to deal with it is to care for your relationship with the people who share your space and your activities. Take care of the dwelling and what is within it. Profit and insight come through the woman and through a flexible, nourishing attitude. Dwell in the yin. Okay, so we want to create our containers for what we want to manifest. We want to let go of, like I said, old heavy burdens or obligations that we took under duress and things like that. Let go of heaviness and old karma and feel truly like you're at a new level now, right? Let's claim that because it is the beginning of a new cycle, and that's been affirmed and confirmed 8 ways to Sunday. But we want to do it in a feminine way, which is like creating space, what we would call nesting for the new baby. You know that baby's coming, so you start setting up the room. Now we know this higher level of existence, a little more beauty, a little more interaction with people is going to come back into play, so we want to set up properly. The scholar says to gather energy for a decisive new move, when you are injured in the outer world, you naturally turn back toward the dwelling. Dwelling people means what is inside. Use your words to connect with people and make your actions persevering. A woman's yin attitude can correct the situation inside. A man's yang attitude can correct the situation outside. Together they reflect the great righteousness of heaven and earth. The dwelling needs a strong head. The roles of the father and mother should be clearly designated. Okay, deep breath. So this is back to boundaries and negotiating up front in a lot of ways, but we are reestablishing our roles and responsibilities. We talked about that in the Venus circle too. Venus rules Taurus. We're like, it overlaps in so many ways. The shaman says that we can reflect this by using his words to connect people, moving their hearts to bring them to the way. He is carried by the bright omens. Seek the vessel of transformation. And then this changing line was number 3. 3, for dwelling people, says, take the past in hand. Do not let go of articulating the dwelling. Establish family relations by dealing with the past. Make sure your house is in order and that people know their places and roles. The confrontation isn't easy, but facing old habits will open the way. This calls for honest repentance of past mistakes, cleaning the house, opening the heart. If you simply let things go on, everything will be confused. Take charge. Articulate relations clearly. The direction says increase your efforts. Pour more in. A fertile time is coming. Strip away old ideas. Be open and provide what is needed. Deep breath. So the dwelling is changing to 42, which is augmenting and the blessing. This is powerful. Augmenting describes your situation in terms of increase, advance, and development. Okay, so let me time out here just to say, on our release side, where it was talking about returning of the spirit and a reemergence and a rebirth, right? We've lost so much, but we've gained so much, right? We've given up so much, but we've received so much in these last couple of years of awakening, right? Let's really trust that as we go forward, that the blessing of this one is forthcoming, let's just say. The way to deal with it is to increase your involvement and pour in more energy. This is a time of gain, profit, and expansion. Have a place to go. Impose a direction on things. Enter the stream of life with a purpose, or embark on a significant enterprise. These things bring profit and insight. The scholar says that this figure shows new energy penetrating the outer world. Strip away your old ideas. By continually diminishing things, you have created augmenting, for increase and decrease are each other's beginning, right? Through augmenting, you enrich your power to realize the way. Augmenting continually enriches things without setting up structures. It uses flourishing and harvesting. When you can imagine improvement, shift the way you do things. When there is excess or error, correct it. Diminish what is above and augment what is below. Okay, so diminish what is above, that's the monkey mind, and shift what is below, that's your body. Let's make some adjustments in what we're actually doing. Stimulate people at their work without limiting them, so be inspiring. The source above has descended, and its way is shining greatly. Let it stimulate you. Having a place to go or imposing a direction on things brings profit and insight. Make correcting one-sidedness and error the center of your concerns. So make correcting one-sidedness and error the center of your concerns. That will bring rewards. Step into the stream of life. Secure your vehicle. the boat to carry you, and then make your move. Augmenting stirs things up and grounds them. Like the rising sun, it has no limit. When heaven spreads out, earth gives birth. Together they increase and augment things on all sides. This connects you with the time so that you can accompany it as it moves. Deep breath, because that's what we're doing. We're evolving. We're going to the next level in a huge way. The shaman says that we can reflect this by perceiving how things can be improved and shift our stance accordingly. Work through rousing and inspiring. A new cycle is beginning. Fix the omen. So we're making some corrections. There's definitely some course corrections that are possible. And I would just say we'll go into this drum journey asking for some support and guidance on which piece of this is just for you, your unique soul, and where you're at this very moment, what you need. And if you need a certain ancestor or angel or animal spirit to come through, you can call on that. I want you to start to go to your happy place in nature and just relax into your space and open to receive. Let all that sort of settle in. Different parts will pop up later and into your consciousness. You can chew on them later. But for now, I want to just put the keywords on your mind, and that'll prime the pump for what you ask for in your drum journey. So the nearing, releasing the spirit, is arrival of the new, approaching of something powerful and meaningful. Welcome, draw nearer and closer. Funeral celebrations and ritual mourning. Deep breath. So if we ritualize what we're letting go of, sometimes it's not as hard to let go of it. Returning, keywords, love and spirit returns after a difficult time. Deep breath. Renewal, rebirth. Reestablish the relationship. Go back to the beginning. Leave the complicated and return to the simple. Death as a return to the source, site of creative transformation, new hope, and a seed figure. Deep breath. 37, dwelling people keywords is hold together, family, clan, intimate group, support, nourish, stay in your group, people who live and work together, another seed figure. And then our last one, this is all just planting seeds of what might come through your journey, maybe, possibly. Augmenting and the blessing says increase, expand, develop, pour in more. Fertile and expansive. Ancestors send their blessings. The rain spirits, site of creative transformation. So there is so much rebirth and renewal that goes into the Taurus Scorpio lunation. So we can do that once a month with the Taurus Scorpio moons that come every month. We can do that twice a year with the Scorpio full moon, new moon, the Taurus full moon, new moon. That gives us twice a year. Now we've got these eclipses and this bigger cycle of 10 and 20 years that we're resetting. And I can definitely correlate those years where, like I said earlier, my body work increased, my connection to my own soul and spirit and the ancestors increased, my inner knowing and my psychic, intuitive, empathic self, that all increased. So this is, again, and this is what we need. We need our senses. We need our invisible team to help us with this visible life, with this 3D life. So let's call in our team right now. Go in your happy place. It's the perfect temperature, whatever you love. And ask your main guide, like I have Ruby Red Wolf standing at the doorway between here, 3D, and our liminal space where we're headed. We'll do this for about 5 to 6 minutes. And just ask for a clue. What is ending? What is beginning? What is coming to life? And what should you nurture? And what is dead on the vine? And we should just clear it out and make space. Really ask for your guides to give you what you need around your values and priorities shifting and having that vibrational match in the people around you, to upgrading the beauty in your environment. All of that is up for renewal. So let's ask them to help us make better choices and ground our self-value and self-worth in something real so that we can be abundant, prosperous, happy, life-affirming beings that we're supposed to be most of the time. All right, going in. Take a deep breath. your call back. You want to finish up, make your offerings of gratitude to whoever showed up. Write down what you want to remember. Know that you can always go back to finish the conversation if you need to. Make your way back to here and now. Usually we go the same way we came. If you went through water or the forest or fire or air, we always use the elements. And come on back. I will open it up. Anyone wants to talk or share, that's fine. If you want to stay in the zone, that's fine too. I want to thank you all for being present and being with me. This is always a pleasure and a privilege to share these goodies with you and be able to talk to someone about all these things that seem to be making connections to me quite clearly. So hopefully it resonated and brought you some confirmations of what's going on in your world for these eclipses and this particular cycle that's ending and beginning as we speak. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So, anyone want to report what came through? How's it going?
This is Nasa. I will say, hey, and hello, everyone from Atlanta. Through my vision, it's interesting because before you even said that Ruby Red Wolf was waiting for you, I was like, oh, there's a wolf around here. I felt the wolf energy, and then you said that. I thought that was great. And the first thing is she led me through, it was just like darkness, and she was like, don't be afraid, you don't have to see, just follow me. And so I was like, okay. And so I was walking in darkness, and then I walked out of a cave, and then it was just like all of this light in front of me.
Very good. Love it. Yes, wolf is the communicator. It is the one that lets us know we can be a lone wolf for a minute, but we thrive better in a pack, in a family, in a crew, where we can take turns with leadership. Wolf is very special, and that's beautiful. I love it. And coming out of the darkness into the light, you can trust that. Since I know your journey, some of your journey, you're definitely moving into the light, baby girl. Trust, trust, trust. I'm so glad you could make it tonight. This is great. What about the Sacred Traveler? Passion. I like these new cards. Passion and pleasure. And what was wild about the card, I mean, like I said, I'll take pictures and you all can see them, is that this is my vision. I was telling my husband, I said, all these years I had, we usually lived in a city, D.C., New York, Chicago, but they always have forest preserves or really good parks and things like that. And I thought I would love to do my sacred stuff out there where we're just a couple miles from the city, but it feels like you're miles away. But I always wanted to have like a camper or something where we had a bathroom, and where if it was hot, we could go into the AC, and if it was cold, we could go into the heat. Because I always have elders in my circle too. So I always pictured, this picture is that. It talks about the girl who stops for the wandering travelers and parties with them all night. Like, this is my thing. I want to party all night in the woods. And when you see it, it's got a little camper off to the side. It's so perfect. I was like, that's my vision. Under the full moon, it looks like males and females. Most of the time I'm in all women's circles, but some brave males who respect feminine power are welcome. So, yeah, these were interesting. And then the grandmother wisdom keeper is that inner knowing that we all have, too, that you all can tap into of your own volition. Your higher self and your soul self are your good filters for what's actually your wisdom that's supposed to be channeling through you. And Taurus Scorpio reacquaints us with that right now. And we're setting some new patterns in play and breaking old negative patterns. So I just want to thank everybody for taking a moment to check in. I appreciate you so much, and definitely let me know about future aha moments, because sometimes this stuff takes a few days to integrate and come back to you as, oh, wow, that's what happened, and this came and that came. So thank you all for being here and being with me. And have a wonderful evening. I hope you'll join me for the 11:11 in the morning as we walk through some new portals that way, too. And that's a whole other little celebration we do, but also very powerful to acknowledge. Even if you're just looking at the clock tomorrow and you can't make it, that's okay. Just acknowledge that there's a little bit of an upgrade when those ones hit, especially in a 22 year. We're just doing a lot of master numbers this year in a big way. So take advantage, because when we get to the 5 next year, it's going to be more powerful. And more things are going to shift and open up and allow us some more movement that we probably haven't been able to have because of COVID for the last 2 years, So let's trust that and get our values straight so that the moves we make and the choices we make are supportive of that beauty and abundance in a healthy way, that serves everybody and drains nobody. That's the key. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go. Peace and love. Be well, and reach out when you need to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Peace and love. Bye-bye.